For your ears only, for the week of October 20th, I'm David Alpern.
I'm Catherine Herzog.
Because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
We took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
Mitt Romney faced a re-energized Barack Obama in their second presidential campaign debate. The president later joking at New York's Al Smith dinner that he had benefited from, quote, a nice long nap during the first. Romney's self-deprecation at the white tie affair included thanks for being able to dress the way he does around the house. But in last week's debate, Romney did himself no favors at several key points. Questioning confused and confusing administration response to the murders at our consulate in Benghazi, Libya, and warnings that preceded them, the GOP candidate focused on the word terror and was brought up short when moderator Candy Crowley confirmed that Obama had used it from the first. Touting his own strong record on female appointees as governor of Massachusetts, but avoiding the equal pay question, Romney talked about getting binders full of women, which escalated the gender-based efforts of both campaigns. Obama later said Romnesia clouded his opponent's memory of past positions on women's rights and health issues.
As the war with terror and the war for women captured much of the media coverage leading up to this week's final foreign policy debate, Romney continued to enjoy at least a tie or marginal advantage in national polls, while Obama held or increased his edge among women and in several key swing states that could form a firewall for him in the nip-and-tuck race that's now developed. And while the economy is still clearly issue number one, foreign affairs could play a role in how each man is seen as commander-in-chief for the next 4 years. To consider some of those issues, we're joined again by Aaron David Miller, a vice president at the Woodrow Wilson International Center in Washington. A former Mideast negotiator, he's also author of The Much Too Promised Land, America's Elusive Search for Arab-Israeli Peace, and the upcoming Can America Have Another Great President? Welcome back to our program.
Appreciate it.
Whenever the president first used the word terror after the Benghazi attack, is administration policy on Libya, with all its rival militias and Islamist factions, vulnerable to the charge of being too optimistic, too protective of the U.S. image as a successful liberator?
Well, this is a campaign largely driven, and in the end will be determined largely by domestic issues, primarily the economy. But the reality is Libya is a vulnerability. I don't think it'll be determinative, but it brings together two issues about which America does care. One is the security of its personnel operating abroad, and also the whole issue of leadership. If you combine the two, and the death of 4 Americans, including the first sitting ambassador since 1979, there's no question that the administration response, even if there was no quote-unquote intelligence failure, or no willful effort to mislead, and I don't think there was, there is a muddling of the public message and a calling into question, frankly, on the part of an administration that has been relatively competent on foreign policy, of competency. And it's a competency issue which is seen across the backdrop of violence against Americans. And that's a serious issue and could ultimately sway votes in a close election.
What about Obama's other responses to the so-called Arab Spring, in which Islamic forces gained at least as much from New Democracy as the secular ones?
Iran, Syria, the whole issue of the Arab Spring or winter, however you describe it, I'm not sure has made much of a dent. Americans pay attention to foreign policy on several occasions. One, if there's an economic consequence, gas prices have been so high for so long that I think most Americans are conditioned to that fact and will not hold the sitting president responsible, or terror. And here again, George W. Bush, President Obama have been extremely successful in avoiding another attack on the continental United States by groups and individuals out to inflict galactic harm on the United States. So I'm not persuaded at all, even though the last several weeks the chattering classes have sought to persuade all of us that, you see, it's not just about the domestic economy. It's about likability in terms of a chief executive. It's about the economy. Do I believe that Barack Obama is more equipped to lead the nation for the next 4 years, or does a President Romney hold the answers? And it's about leadership. And I suspect, on balance, the tick-tock, even on Libya, and the tragedy of what happened in Benghazi will not be determinative.
Let me ask, though, about the fear factor. Romney's equating military strength with global leadership and how it squares with a new, less controllable reality, especially in the Middle East, and in the face of real war weariness in the American electorate.
Americans elected Barack Obama because they were tired of the roller coaster ride. They were tired of the two longest wars in American history, where victory was determined not by can we win, but when can we leave. They were exhausted and worried, scared about an economic recession, the worst economic dislocation since the Great Depression. Obama, on the foreign policy front, is in the process of extricating the United States from these wars. He has become, in effect, in my judgment, I mean, the notion somehow that Obama is going to score points comparing Mitt Romney to George W. Bush doesn't hold at all. If there's anybody that can be compared to George W. Bush, it's Barack Hussein Obama, who has essentially continued the former president's foreign policy, keeping Gitmo open, doubling down with his own Iraqi-like surge in Afghanistan, and eliminating through our Predator drones and effective counterterrorism programs 10 times the number of suspected evildoers, bad guys, terrorists than his predecessor did. What Governor Romney appears to want to do is to create an expectation of a kind of aspirational foreign policy, that somehow America would, under his tenure, have solutions to these impossible problems. Arab-Israeli peace, forget about it. Intervention in Syria, not likely, even under a Romney administration. Iran is going to be a key test, clearly. There's no question. But here again, I don't see much of a difference on most Middle Eastern issues, with the possible exception of an improved relationship, personal relationship, between a putative President Romney and an Israeli prime minister. I'm not sure there's much of a difference. There are differences when it comes to defense spending. There are differences when it comes to the START treaty. There are differences, I think, and the administration may well be vulnerable to the whole notion that they've reset their relations with Russia. But on the issues that are burning and the ones that Romney has identified, Syria, Iran, Benghazi, Libya, Arab Spring, Arab Winter, I'm not sure there's much of a difference, and I'm not sure Americans, frankly, care.
Aaron David Miller is a vice president at the Woodrow Wilson International Center in Washington. A former Mideast negotiator, he's also author of The Much Too Promised Land, America's Elusive Search for Arab-Israeli Peace. His next book is Can America Have Another Great President?
Quote from the news, "He is one of us." That was Camilla Peterson, an Obama campaign worker, speaking in Spanish to an immigrant family in Colorado, part of an effort by both campaigns to win Latino votes, seen as key in three closely contested states, Colorado, Florida, and Nevada. A new Pew poll found that a 52% majority of the nation's Latinos now favor same-sex marriage, as does the president, a reversal from 6 years ago.
Next, the new book about killing bin Laden, for your ears only.